Welcome to Learning Dorico. I'm composer and music educator Dr. Scott Watson. This video will serve as an introduction to drum set notation. We'll touch on some basic topics. Notice how the snare drum and the cymbal parts have stems up and the bass drum has stems down. This isn't the only correct way to notate drum set music, but it is fairly common. We'll also cover using rhythm slashes when a pattern continues, even for part of a measure for a drum fill. Okay, let's get started. Alright, the first step in entering a drum set part is to actually create the drum set part in your score. I have a small score here that uses a lead vocal line, piano, bass, and we want to put drums. By the way, if you're not sure how to enter the notes for the piano part or the chord symbols or all those kind of things, or even how to set up the score, all of those are covered in previous videos of mine. Check those out first. But just to add that drum part, we're going to go into setup mode, Command 1. The icon in the lower left, it looks like a person with a plus sign. That's for adding a single player. Click on that. And we could search for, in unpitched percussions, we could search for drum set, but I'm going to just type in drum and see what it comes up with. There it is. Drum set basic. We don't even need the full one. And say add. By the way, you can see it's added right there. While we're here, let me go ahead and drop down this menu and we see where it says drum set and these three little dots. Click on that. Let's edit the percussion kit to make it work the way we want. So these are the instruments that are already added to the basic drum kit. We're going to only be using ride cymbal, snare drum, and kick drum or bass drum. Notice where they are on the staff. The kick drum is in the bottom space. The snare drum is in the third space. And the ride cymbal is in the top line. The ride cymbal has stems up. The snare drum's default is stems down. We want it to be stems up. Let's fix that right now. And then the kick drum, we want that to be stems down. By the way, we could also, for instance, the ride cymbal has X note heads, and that's exactly what we want. You can, choose from this menu and change those note heads, but we're going to keep the defaults as well. But that's how you would change the look of some of the note heads. Okay, and then we'll say close. And now let me go into write mode, Command 2. Let's zoom in, and let's go ahead and put in some of our. Let's put in the first measure of drum parts. So click on this first measure, enter note entry mode, hit return. We can see the rhythm grid is set to 16th notes. I'm going to change that to 8th notes because that's all I need for what I want to do. If I use the up and down arrows, you can see the name of the instrument changing. There's snare drum, there's ride cymbal, and then down here, that's the kick drum or the bass drum. So let's go ahead and put all 8th notes in for our ride cymbal. I'll choose the rhythm shortcut 5. Notice that toggles 8th notes. And then I'm going to be using the key Y. That's Dorico's, that's one of many ways of putting in drum parts, but it's the way we're going to do it in this video. The letter Y on the QWERTY keyboard is the insert key. So we could call this method Y enter, right? So if I hit Y, it's going to put in 8th notes for the whole measure. There we go. Got it. All right, I'm going to use the back arrow. Go back to beat 2 in the rhythm grid, and then I'm going to go down to snare drum. But here I want to put in, let me toggle 6 for quarter notes. So I'll type Y. Now, if I want it to only appear on that third of the 8th notes, let me do this again. Let's keep it 8th notes. So let's put the snare drum Y there, and then let's do it again on the 4th beat. Okay, good. And then let's go back to the first beat in the rhythm grid down to kick drum. And let's keep it at 8th notes, so that was number 5, and do 8th, 8th, forward arrow, rest, 8th, 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 forward arrow, rest. And that's looking pretty good. That's pretty much the way I want it. Let's go to the next measure and enter our, let's do it backwards. Let's do the kick drum part first. So 5 for the 8th notes, and YY, forward arrow, YY, forward arrow. Good. Let's enter the snare drum part. Go up to snare drum and back to, we need 1 on beat 2, so that would be right here. Keep it as a 8th note, Y. The next snare drum I want on a 16th subdivision, so I do got to change my rhythm grid down here to 16ths and go to the last 16th of beat 2 and put in 4 16ths. So I changed my rhythm shortcut to 4, and there we got that snare in. And then I'm going to put one more 8th note on the beginning of the 4th beat right here, shortcut 5 and Y. All right, now let's go ahead and put the ride cymbal in, go back to the beginning of the measure and up to ride cymbal, And we want these to at least at first be eighth notes, so 5. And then I'm going to put in a couple 16ths. And then the rest are going to be eighth notes back to 5. And Dorico sort of makes it look the way it's supposed to look. Let's get out of that and see how it looks. Yeah, that looks great. This next measure here, the third measure, is going to be identical to the first measure. So I could just select that and then do the shortcut Command C for copy, go over here, Command V for paste, and put it in that way. This measure is going to be almost the same as the second measure, so I'm going to do Command C, then over here, Command V. What I am going to change, though, is just the fourth beat. Let me select the notes on the fourth beat, hit delete. I'm going to put in a snare drum fill there, so hit return, and I need some 16th notes. That would be number 4. Let me use the down arrow to get to snare drum and do YY, and then shortcut 5, and then Y. So what I've put is a little one-beat drum fill, and I did that on purpose because I'm going to show you some slash notation for that later. Now that I've put in the notes the way that I need them, I can do a lot of copying and pasting, which, drum parts are very repetitive. What I'd like to do is start repeating this measure here and then here and so on. So I could copy and paste it, right? Command C and Command V, but I'll show you another shortcut. Just hit R and it copies it. Hit R and it copies it. Hit R, it copies it. And I'm going to do that for all of those measures. Okay, in the 2/4 measure, I want everybody to have just a quarter note on beat 1. I'm going to go into note entry mode, return, and we're already set to quarter note. That's the shortcut 6, and ride cymbal, Y. Go back to that first beat, go down to snare drum, Y. Go back to that first beat, go down to bass drum, kick drum, that is, and Y. So notice I don't have to switch layers up and down or switch voices. It knows that the down stem is the bass drum and the other two are up stem. Let's go on to the next measure, where we're going to continue the same pattern we had in the first measure of the song. So I'm going to copy that, Command C, and then go over to here and paste it, Command V. And I want to have it repeat 2 more times, R, R. And then my last measure is going to be very similar to measure 4 in the song. So let me go back here and copy that, Command C, and then go to the last measure and Command V. All right. We're looking good. I want to save this, Command S, so I don't lose it. And let's zoom out. This is a good time to talk about beaming, whether we want to split beams or join beams. For instance, notice the ride cymbal part is beamed in groups of 4. If we wanted to split that up so that it was groups of 2, we can go into notation options, Shift Command N, and then under 4/4, switch from groups of 4 to groups of 2, say apply, and go back, and now notice they're all that way. However, I like the way it was, so let me undo that, Command Z. If I want to split just one individual beam, like say for instance right here, I just want these two to split up. Select the note and then control click or right click on it, go under beaming, and you can say split beam, and it'll just split those two locally instead of globally for the whole project. But I like the way it was. Next, I'd like to discuss using rhythm slashes. For instance, knowing that measure 6 is just going to repeat itself in measure 7 and 8 and 9 and so forth, we could set up what is called rhythm slashes for as many measures as we want to do it. And that just tells the drummer to keep playing the same pattern. Go into repeat structures and all the way down at the bottom where it says rhythm slashes, say create slash region, and it does. There's also a handle that can be dragged. So for instance, I can extend the slash region for another measure. We actually want it for 3 more measures. So let me just drag it all the way up to here. And by the way, let me undo everything I've just done and zoom out, and then holding the shift key, select that measure to the end of the region that I want to slash, and then say create slash region. It'll do it all at the same time. Also, let me show you a shortcut. Let me zoom in and scroll down to the last system. Let's say we want to do these 2 measures in a slash region. We could do Shift R for repeat and just type slash, and that changes it to a slash region. And again, the handles allow you to change it back if you ever want to. What about if it's just part of a measure that you want to have as a slash? So for instance, say I want the drummer to have some liberty on beat 4 to do a drum fill. I could select this measure and do Shift R slash and drag so that only the fourth beat appears as a slash. I could even attach a note attached text, Shift X, and write in fill. Or maybe I want to put that in parentheses or whatever. Instructions to the drummer. And let's say we want to do that same thing at the very end of the song. Let's turn that into a slash, Shift R slash, just the last beat, and Shift X, let's say fill. There are other ways of telling a drummer to repeat. So for instance, I'm going to undo just by selecting these and hitting delete. I'm going to undo that slash region. And let me just empty these measures altogether, select them and delete. And what I'm going to do is just select this measure, do Shift R, and put the percentage sign in, which is the shortcut for a one measure repeat. Hit return. And now it's going to repeat the measure before. Let me prove that to you by playing it. P. See, it knows to repeat it. And I could do the same thing in this next measure, right? I could do Shift. In fact, I could have done both of these measures. Let me get rid of that one bar repeat and select 2 bars and say Shift R and then the percent sign. And it'll keep repeating that as long as I want. But in the end, I actually like the way we had it before. Last thing I want to point out is if you want your slashes to play, you have to actually tell Dorico that. Go into the playback options, Shift Command P, and under repeats, make sure you have play/voices checked. By default, it's usually not checked. So you'd have to check it to make sure all those measures where you had the slashes actually play the music that you want to be repeated. Just a few miscellaneous things to wrap up. Number 1, for instance, what if you want to give the drummer instructions or label a part? It's the same thing we did for fill. It's note attached text. Shift X opens the field. Let's say we want to put here ride cymbal abbreviation. Let's say we want that to be a smaller font size. We can format that smaller. We can put it in italics, whatever you want to do. That's up to you. All right, but I'm going to get rid of that because I actually don't want that. Number 2, if I want to change the instrument, I select it and do Option up and cycle through whatever the different instruments that are in the drum kit. Also, if you do Shift Option up or down, it changes the performance technique. So snare drum side stick, snare drum cross stick, or rim shot, things like that. Number 3, Dorico numbers rhythm/repeats, and it uses this default number 4 in parentheses, for instance. If you want to change the way that appears, go into Properties, Command 8, and you can change the count frequency. Right now it's 4, but I could have it be every 3 measures or every 2 measures. I like the 4, so I'm going to leave it there. You can also change the appearance. Like right now it's in parentheses. We can say without parentheses, and we can say don't show it at all, right? But I'll leave it the way it was. Finally, what if you want your music to play in swing style? Well, that's a playback option. Let's go into Shift Command P, and under timing, the first thing there is straight by default, but we can say let's do some a medium swing 8th notes, apply, and notice that when I play back my music, and this is all the music, not just the drum part, but let me hit P, you'll hear swing 8th notes. I'm going to undo that, go back to straight, and apply. A shortcut for doing that same thing would be to do Shift T for tempo and just type in swing, and then you'll get those same choices. I could choose the medium swing 8ths that I just did, and that would apply it as well. Let me show you by not hiding the signpost, and you can see that medium swing 8ths was applied there. The very next measure, by the way, you could do straight, no swing. And we can see by the signpost that it's no longer swing. And so it'll swing the first measure, but not the second. And so forth. All those colorful signposts make the score look a little busy, so I'm going to go back and hide them again. This video is more about drum parts than anything else, but we could do a little bit of layout and formatting. I'm going to go into engrave mode, Command 3, and select my staff spacing tool, and I'm just going to drag this down a little bit, give it some room. This definitely needs some more room here, right? This has too much room, and this has too much room. For engraving, layout, format, that kind of stuff, please check out some of my other videos. Well, now you know the basics of entering drum set parts. I hope this video has been helpful. Good luck learning Dorico.